Welcome, Angels and Demons podcast. This is season 1, episode 6, Round a Lake. Welcome, Christine Cole. Great to see you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Christine Cole, you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I actually grew up in Jacksonville, very close to here. I have kind of lived all over. I was in the Coast Guard for a little bit, lived in Montana, and now more recently have moved back to Vero Beach. Worked as a medic for a long time. Now I've been at home with my 2 kids.
So when you say the Coast Guard, what years were you in the Coast Guard?
From 2013 to 2017.
Okay. And where did you spend your time in the Coast Guard?
I spent a little bit of time in Cape May, New Jersey, where their training center is, and then was transferred to Kodiak, Alaska, and that's where I spent the rest of my time.
Wow. What a place to go. Kodiak, Alaska.
Yeah.
That's not Missouri. That's not Kansas. That's Kodiak, Alaska.
Way more fun.
Yeah, I was like, wow, the missions that... So, being in the Coast Guard, what essentially does that mean? Like, I mean, I know very little about... I know the military, the Air Force, the Navy, but what exactly does the Coast Guard do?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a funny story because I had to figure out what the Coast Guard did. And basically, they, for the most part, are stationed stateside. They do a lot of law enforcement, drug interdiction offshore. They deal with immigration. And then the part of the Coast Guard that I was involved in was rescuing civilians and transporting them for medical care up in Alaska.
Rescuing civilians. What is the most, like, what is the most, like, crazy story that you have to share about rescuing a civilian while being in the Coast Guard in Alaska?
I think the most interesting story, or the one that's just unique, was responding to a group of hunters, and one of the men that was in the group was mauled by a bear. 5 bears.
Mauled by a bear.
Yes.
Was it apparent when you showed up that there had been, like, he had been inflicted by a bear?
Yes. There were 5 bears that attacked the group, and in order to get the bear off of the hunter that was being mauled, How
did they do that? Are they just like, bears 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're going to meet at such and such a location. We're going to maul someone. How does that, like, I'm just like, I've seen a bear, but I mean, like, 5 bears, like that's a lot. Wow. So do you know how he got in this situation?
I'm trying to think. I believe that case was in November of 2014. And I think, they don't always hibernate for the winter, but they might have been looking for their last meal, I guess, before kind of taking a rest. And this group is on a
last meal.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being 5 bears and I'm walking through Alaska. I am the last meal. Wow.
Yeah. So they were on a remote trip on Sally Island. They were taken there by a fishing vessel and dropped off, and they were transporting a deer carcass. And I think that was what
triggered it.
Yeah, the bears caught wind of the deer carcass and came after them. So.
Wow. Not to take over, but I did spend 6 months in Alaska, and I have to say, it is quite a place. It's not like Florida. It's its own place. So he's dragging this carcass through, and that's probably what triggered the 5 bears. They all had the same sense, right?
Yep.
Fresh meat. Okay, so when did you get called during this process?
I had recently been stationed there, and I was still in my qualification process to become a flight paramedic there. And so I did not have an official pager that I would come to wear once I was qualified. And I was eating lunch at the clinic because I was working my other time as a corpsman. And somebody came by the desk and said, they knew that I was involved in the flight program or working on it and was interested in flying, and came by the desk and said, this guy's being mauled by a bear. Can you respond?
What was your first, how do you respond to that just yourself when you heard that? Did you think he was joking?
No,
you knew it was. You're like, you went to Alaska.
Yeah.
You probably knew you were going to come to some interesting situations, right?
Yeah, I was ready. I mean,
Really?
I had trained before I ever joined the Coast Guard, I became a civilian paramedic, and I actually worked at Shands. I think it's called UF Health now,
Yes,
off
ma'am.
of 8th Street in Jacksonville. And I worked probably 5 to 6 days a week there and got
Wow.
a ton of experience and exposure to all kinds of things in just a fast-paced environment. And so,
Trauma 5 Center, you see just about everything. So
yeah.
you knew that this was an urgent call.
Yes, yes. And I think what drew me so much, I mean, there's multiple reasons, but drew me so much to the Coast Guard was that you don't have all of the resources that you have at a trauma center. You don't have
Right.
doctors running around and fluorescent lighting and all of the supplies that you need just out and ready to go. You're kind of out there. I don't want to say on your own.
So what did you
but
do? So you get the call. Obviously the man's hauling this. 5 bears are at him. What were your steps in going about getting to take care of him?
Well, first, there's a lot of things that go on about checking your gear and briefing before you even take off, just for safety reasons. I believe it took us about 7 to 10 minutes to fly to him, which was great. We had to circle around for a bit, figure out how they were going to hoist the rescue swimmer
When you
down.
say fly, I assume this is a helicopter.
Yes,
Okay.
they're H-60. They call them Jayhawks.
Jayhawks.
But the bigger Coast Guard, like white and orange helicopters that you see
Wow.
flying in those. So we circled around for a little bit. There's a lot of discussion going on about how to safely hoist the rescue swimmer down to extract the patient. Hoisted him down. He actually had to hike up to the patient. All of the other hunters that were there helped him to package the patient down on the ground. And then he sent the patient back up in the helicopter where I am. And then there's a period of time where we're circling around to go figure out how to safely pick him back up and get out of there. And
That's incredible. I mean, coming from a family that just was in the window washing business, we did a lot of high-rise window washing, right? So you would do 2 links, right? Safety, so that in case one came over, and cables and stuff. So, I mean, I can only imagine all the safety stuff that goes into making sure everything is okay to lift someone up into the helicopter.
Yes.
And you were responsible to make sure that part went safely, right?
yes, well, more so, there are 2 pilots that fly in those helicopters, and then there's a flight mechanic, and he
Okay.
operates the hoist and is doing a lot of, they call it conning, but where he's talking to the pilots, telling them, that I need you to move over just a little bit. I need
For the
you to go
basket,
back.
like
I
if
need you to
someone's
go
in the
down.
water
Yes.
drowning, the basket needs to go
Yes.
this way or that way.
Yes,
Okay.
and that was something that was fascinating to me, is how well everybody works together to do their jobs.
It's a
and
team of, again,
high risk situations. Yeah,
5?
5 with me. Yes.
5 with you. Okay. And so you ended up getting the gentleman up into the helicopter?
Yes. Thankfully, he was alert and oriented the whole time, knew where he was. We put a headset on him so that he could talk to us, because obviously it's very loud. And he was kind of energized. I think his adrenaline was still going, and he was probably 75 years old, and he
Wow.
just like,
That's
I look
crazy.
down, this bear head's on my leg. Just like, I mean, I think he was just hadn't
Wow.
fully comprehended what had happened to him. But
Where did he get scratched? There was his face. Could you recognize him? I mean, like, how badly was he torn up?
It was mainly his lower leg. So this bear just missed a major nerve bundle in his spine, where all of your nerves come down
What?
at the end to kind of, I mean, he could have been paralyzed, and then just missed his femoral artery, which that would have been a massive bleed. So
What an incredible experience.
Yeah, it
Was
was
that
really
so? That was your first major, like, situation or drastic situation in the Coast Guard?
I think that's a unique one. I think all of them,
Good way to put it, unique
given
one.
the environment, all of them are. I mean, I guess if you compare, when you're working in that environment with other people to do the same job, you're like, oh, it's just another day or whatever.
Yeah,
but
sure.
if you compare that to somebody else that maybe has their coffee and like sits in traffic and drives to work and go, or whatever, then it's a little bit. I think every case is high risk,
Sure.
dangerous conditions, and you're kind of in Alaska going out in the middle of nowhere. That was mostly our job, was to go where nobody else is going to go, and weather that nobody else is going to fly in, which was
It's a beautiful state. I mean, we went on a hunting trip there. It was absolutely amazing. Fish, salmon, absolutely incredible. But I'll tell you what, there was this one walk that we would go on, and I remember I had to like carry a 45 just in case, because we did see one black bear, but I never knew of anyone that had been attacked. But it was very made aware of us that, hey, when you're moose hunting, you're probably going to be encountered, because what you are killing, bears also have to eat, and so they're probably going to be attracted. That's amazing that while you were there, you experienced that.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably will never forget that
No,
story.
I won't.
I'm not ever going to forget you telling me that story. Wow, that's incredible. So, how long in the Coast Guard were you during that point?
I had just been relocated to Kodiak, so I wasn't even qualified yet for that case either, which is why somebody came by the desk and was like, "Oh, you're a medic, you're interested in flying, you want to go along?" And I borrowed somebody else's gear. I mean, I had to borrow there's a physician assistant that she was an aviation PA, and so she was about my size, and I borrowed her wetsuit, her helmet,
All the stuff
all
that
of
you
her
need
stuff,
to do.
and just went, yeah.
Wow.
So
How long of a process is that from the time you guys took off to getting back? What would you say?
I would say maybe an hour and a half. The flight time, like I said, was about 10 minutes, but then you're, making sure that you're safely lowering the swimmer down and getting the patient safely back in and making sure you go back around and pick him up. And then the flight back was about 10 minutes. So, I mean, maybe an hour is stretching it, but it was pretty quick for that guy. He could have been much further away. And
Well,
so.
I think we take, and I still I had a former Navy veteran, on the show, and I think we take so much for granted, just our safety. Like whether it's in Navy, Army, Air Force, or Coast Guard, I don't still fully understand all that goes into it. I don't think anyone will unless they're a part of it.
Yeah.
But we have so much to be grateful for.
Yes.
I mean, you were talking about Coast Guard, and then you just separated all the different aspects of it. I have a friend that I know of that's in Alaska in the Coast Guard. I don't know what section, but now I'm curious to ask him, what part of the Coast Guard are you in or doing? Because you were in search and rescue, right?
Yes.
Is there another story you have for us?
Oh, there's plenty. Trying to think of a specific one. Lots of medevacs off of cruise ships, which I think is interesting.
Okay. Getting them off the cruise vessel?
Cargo ships that are transiting along the coastline in Alaska. And a lot of times nobody on board speaks English. So there was a Russian cargo ship with an Italian, translator or something that was on board. And you're just trying, even that communication barrier. I remember the pilot speaking to somebody on board saying, what's the patient's status? How are they doing? And all you hear back is, they're doing very much worse. And you're just like,
okay. Yeah, I was just going to say, okay.
What does that mean?
You've taken care of all my questions here. Now I'll get to work. Thank you very much.
So I think that was another aspect of it, of just having zero idea what you're going to walk into. You don't know who's going to be there to meet you. You don't know what they've had done for them. You don't even know if what you're showing up on is what they've paged it out as. So you're just kind
trying
of
to figure it out
blind a little bit.
So each day is different.
Yes.
You're there, but every day, depending on the call, it could be very search and rescue. Could mean one thing, guy mauled by a bear. Could be a cruise ship where something goes wrong, and you're there. Thank you for your service. That's quite a service to provide. I mean, I've learned, whether it's a plumber, electrician, or whatever it is, when you need help and you don't know what you're doing, it's really nice to have someone around.
Yeah.
So I'm sure a lot of people appreciated you, and I'm sure that guy will thank you to this day for saving his life, because if you guys weren't there, what is he going to do?
Yeah. I mean, that's the case for that unit in particular. There's, people aren't going to fly in that kind of weather.
He probably wouldn't have survived, would he?
Yeah. I mean, nobody would have gone out to get him. I mean, maybe they would have tried to carry him out down to the fishing vessel. It would have taken, a while. I mean, it just is not efficient.
The odds were not in his favor.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Wow. So then, Coast Guard, you're still in the Coast Guard?
I separated in 2017.
Okay. And then since 2017, what have you been doing?
2017, I took a job in Hawaii with Hawaii Lifeline and worked for them for a little while.
And that is?
It's a civilian aeromedical transport company. So I was based on the Big Island in Hilo. And because they have a level 4 community hospital, all of their higher acuity patients, pregnant women, cardiovascular issues, anything like that, they're going to need to be transferred to Oahu to a higher level of care.
Oh, wow.
So our job was to transport critical patients from their hospital to usually Queens Medical Center.
What a luxury we have. Like, we have a lot of hospitals here in Jacksonville. So, like, Shands, which you said is now UF Health, St. Vincent's, you got Mayo Clinic, one of the best. I mean, about anything that you need, cancer, whatever, you have the facility. But I didn't even think about that. In Hawaii, you probably don't have the luxury of having the facility. So that was a huge deal, right?
Yeah. Yep. They definitely needed the care that they received on Oahu, so that felt meaningful to be a part of that too.
What's the biggest takeaway from that?
From that job, hard for me to talk about, but just seeing the difference in safety between the Coast Guard. I mean, I talked about that repetitively just now about safety and safety with civilian companies. I think that was a challenge. I ended up leaving that job and going back to school.
You said it's hard to talk about. Is there something that happened during that time?
Just very unsafe. Just very unsafe. And then after I left, they ended
unsafe in what way?
They did not. I'm hoping that they've changed now. They actually lost a crew a few years after I left. One of their planes crashed, but just not taking the same precautions that they should. I mean, a lot of it is the Coast Guard isn't driven by money, really. They're, public service, and
the Coast Guard is public service.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
okay.
If there was a light that went off in the helicopter, they would run the emergency procedures. And if we were 20 minutes away, we're on our way to go help somebody, and one of those lights goes off, and there's danger for us as the crew, they'd turn around and fly back 20 minutes.
What?
Swap everything to another aircraft, do their pre-checks for that whole thing, spin up again, and leave to make sure we all stayed safe. And
so the Coast Guard's a public service. So 200,000 pounds of cocaine being confiscated, just so you know, that's just a public service. Like if it arrives, enjoy it. But if it doesn't, it's just a public service. Wow, quite a public service. So I understand now that feeling of unsafeness, because you came from a very structured environment where you, for an example, we went to Brazil, my fiance and I did, and we went to Rio de Janeiro to visit Christ the Redeemer and Sugarloaf Mountain. The gap between the cart and where you got off was about that much.
Wow.
So I'm thinking a small child could have just fallen 10,000 feet. And I'm like, wait. And I think you're kind of explaining that is where you probably saw so many areas that there could have been improvement in. And that probably frustrated you a little bit. So it's hard to talk about, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. And then, I ended up being in a position of kind of defending other people that might have lost their jobs if they spoke up. And it just was not something that I just expected more, I think, from the experience. But the patient side of it, I loved that. I loved picking up the patients and spending time with them and their families and, being a part of caring for the patients. I had to get out of it because of the, just safety.
And that job again was called?
Hawaii Life Flight.
Hawaii Life Flight. Okay. Just coming from a medical background myself, and I work directly with patients, I find it so healing. I ask everyone what they do for a living, what they enjoy in life, and I absolutely love it. It is, I work for corporate America, and I think you can relate to that. That part is draining because they see things differently than individuals see each other.
Yes.
And so as you work in the environment, that part can take a wear on you. And it seems like it did a little bit, because you saw things that were overlooked or underlooked that maybe you and your thorough training in the Coast Guard wish they were more thorough in their process.
But it was a wonderful experience. I think that no matter if it's negative or positive or both, there's always something you take from it. So
100%. Yeah. And that's kind of what this show is about is, you are not alone. It is specifically for mental health, I think we all try to pretend that life is perfect. We're all so good. We're all doing great. When really we have these inner battles, and maybe one day's good, maybe weeks are good, but nobody is not going to tell you man, I had a tough day, right? Yeah. Or I had a hard time. And I think that I'm trying to, the best I can, shatter that so it's not so tabooed. Mm-hmm. So that mental health is something that someone can come out and just be like, hey, I'm having a rough day. I feel like I need to call out and just spend some time taking care of myself, whatever that looks like. And it seems like from your experience, you saw a lot, you experienced a lot, and with that, you take a lot of memories with you.
Yeah.
And so today, where do you sit today? Are you, your parents live here? Or are you, I didn't even ask yet. Sorry. Are you from Jacksonville or?
I'm from Jacksonville.
Okay.
Yeah, I was born and raised here. And then when I was 18, moved to Hawaii for the first time. And then my dad actually was diagnosed with terminal cancer my first semester of college. And I did complete the full year while he was going through chemo. But then I decided to move back to Florida and be with my family.
Say that one more time. Your dad was diagnosed with terminal cancer
Yes.
in your senior year of high school.
My first year of college.
College.
Yeah.
How did you process that?
Well, I think looking back, that whole year that I spent in Hawaii, really my journey with faith started when I was 17, not realizing that as I was kind of building that strength over 17, 18 into 19. And then that year that I was in Hawaii, just being really supported by, various small groups and church. And I was like doing yoga and surfing and just very
Trying to get grounded.
Yeah, I felt grounded and had no idea that was going to happen. But then once that news was delivered, yeah, my dad had a kidney transplant 3 or 4 years before that. And so when they sat us down and were, very serious, I thought maybe it had to do with that. Was thinking maybe he went into rejection or, but yeah, he was shaving one morning and felt a lump just right on his jawline. He was already going up to Emory Medical Center.
I'm trying to think where my jawline. So like, is that like right there?
Yeah,
Kinda, like a lump.
Yeah, so just a
that's
tiny
where it would
little
show up?
pea-sized lump. He had a lump there.
God, I'm gonna be checking that daily.
I'm not trying to freak you out.
I do feel a lump there. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm not. Anyway, I don't want to go down. I might seriously have that looked at though.
So yeah,
Wow.
he was shaving one morning, felt like a pea-sized kind of lump there. He was already going up to Emory's Medical Center in Atlanta to get his immunosuppressant drugs, like his infusions, to keep his kidneys healthy. So he had it biopsied 2 weeks after he found it and was already at stage 4.
What? Stage 4. That's the latest stage,
Yeah.
right? Is there a stage 5? No, I think it goes 1 through 4, right?
So the reason why that happened and it was so aggressive is because when transplant patients have organs that don't belong to them put in their body, they get put on immunosuppressant drugs to kind of dampen their immune system so that your body accepts the organ. But in doing that, it kind of breaks down walls, like defenses that your body would have against cancer. And
Interesting.
So that's how
Michael kind of went
so
through
fast.
something similar, so I kind of know what you're talking about. Like when you put anything foreign into the body, it has to take. And so either you try to maneuver a lot of things, so it did. And did it look like it was for a time going to...
Yeah, he was doing really well. He was actually training for a marathon. He was very healthy, health conscious.
A marathon?
Yeah. He was swimming every morning, like laps in the pool, was doing yoga. I mean, yeah, just bizarre.
That's where you get your work ethic from.
Yeah.
You get a diagnosis like this, and I'm going to run a marathon. That's incredible.
Yeah,
Wow.
so he was doing well until he found that. And then, just, they try chemo and all the things that they do, but by giving him chemo, they would kill his one kidney that he now has to keep him alive. And so he didn't make it. He passed away in August.
I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah.
Cancer runs rampant in my family. I had a T-cell leukemia at 8 years old. I'm going to tell you, it's just, I don't understand it. Like, I'm not trying to be like silly or anything, but is it just salt or pepper? Like, I'm wondering if one day they're going to be like, just don't have salt or just stop having pepper. Like, is it like, cause like everyone you talk to, it's like, oh yeah, my aunt had cancer, or like my brother had cancer. I'm like, wait, what is going on? Like, why is everyone getting cancer all of a sudden? But the thing about it is it brings us to a chapter that it's not fun. It's not fun because, you were probably I assume, were you close to your dad?
Extremely close. Yeah, he was my best friend.
So, I have my dad and mom are in their late 70s. I can't even imagine not having them around. I call them every day. And the process of going through that, I'm so sorry, Christine. That's a lot. So to adjust from this, you went into yoga, you said? to in different aspects
Yeah,
to
well,
try to get your mind off?
thankfully, I had those practices kind of. I didn't know what was coming, but kind of had those practices already in place. I had some kind of just bizarre experiences with my faith over that time. Just I knew down to the month, like I knew the month that he was going to die.
It's incredible.
Just
Just
things that
spiritually, like you knew that.
yeah, and I felt so. I think a lot of my strength came from that, and just knowing that even if I don't really understand the big picture,
You have your faith.
yeah, that it's gonna turn out okay. It's gonna be all right in the end, and
I think without it, at least for me, it's like you really don't have anything. I mean, you can have all the money, but like one of my idols is Steve Jobs, and he said, the most expensive bed is a hospital bed. He had all the money, he had all the things, but he wishes he would have spent more time with family and done the things that he could have carried with him to his deathbed, not just all the materialistic things that we all get so dragged down in. I mean, I feel like we just all plow down this 8 to 5. I've got one cousin that lives in like Michigan, and he just said enough. He literally bought a plot of land and lives off the land. He does.
That's great.
Yeah, it's called Ringworm in Michigan, and he doesn't even. He has a podcast on YouTube, has millions of subscribers because they're fascinated by how did this man just
exit society.
He is smart. He is as smart as can be. I mean, he has like his PhD in medical science, and here he is just saying like, listen, I don't want this life. Like, I don't want America to define for me that 8 to 5 is good enough. I want to live my life free. I want to be a free man. Yeah. So that is just with you mentioning what you said. I mean, I can just relate so much to that. And now, how many years has it been since then?
It was 15 years this last August that he's been gone. Yeah.
They say time heals all things. Is that true?
It does. I think it gets easier than it. I think the first year, everybody will tell you it's like pretty hard because it's the first of everything. They're not there for the holidays, and you still pull out your phone to call them. You still have those kind of things that happen, and but I think that as life goes on, there are milestones that you wish they were there for. Because he was so close to me, there's plenty of times that I've wanted to just say, listen to what I did today, or just talk about something, and he's not there, but
just have a hard day. It's your best friend. You want to pick up the phone, whether it's a relationship issue, whether it's a hard day at work. Sometimes you just need a good friend to vent to just hear you, and that was your dad.
Yeah.
What was your dad's name?
His name was Will, short for William.
William.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And William and you and your mom all grew up in what part of Jacksonville?
We were kind of over by NAS.
NAS?
Yeah.
Okay, so very military, around the military. So you're definitely a Jags fan, right?
Somewhat, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay. We can continue the podcast. We can continue. All right. No. Don't cut anything off. Leave it on. Okay. I thought it was closely. Whew, that was a close one. That's good enough. It's a community thing. But so you lived over there, and then it's been a number of years since your dad's passed. And where are you now mentally? This podcast specifically mental health for everyone in the community of Jacksonville. Where are you mentally now?
Mentally, I feel like life always continues to throw little curveballs that you have to deal with.
Give me an example.
In the last couple of years, I've been tracking my kidney health for the last probably 10 plus years, just through flight physicals I had to do in the Coast Guard. And it turns out that I have the same kidney disease that my dad had. And over the last couple of years after I had my son, I have dipped into kidney failure twice and have had to navigate how to handle that, how to be patient with myself and my body as somebody who has always had the ability to just get up and go and do what I want to do, and my body fighting me.
What has helped you navigate through mental health the most?
Definitely faith is always there. I think at this point, I look back at challenges that I've had in my past, and I think about the fact that I had the strength to face those challenges and made it on the other side, and believe that I can with this. And that doesn't mean that I always feel that way. Probably in the last year, I called a mentor of mine that I had when I was in the Coast Guard. And just hearing him remind me, he said something that I just won't ever forget. I was, like in tears on the phone. And he said, Christine, I don't think there's any mountain I've ever seen you face that you haven't climbed.
Wow.
And
so what would you say has helped you navigate mentally the most? You just said it. There's someone that told you there isn't any mountain they haven't seen you being able to climb. What encouragement? I mean, to me, that's very encouraging, isn't it? That someone sees qualities inside of you, that realizes no matter what struggles come your way in life, there's hope, and there's the ability inside of you to climb to the next level. So that's awesome. Is that friend still around?
Yes.
I would thank that friend,
yes.
and just be like, hey, you know what? You really helped me, in a place where I really, really needed it, and now you have that, and it kind of builds. I feel like you build those strengths, and then the next time you have an area where you need that, it's available.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, I also think having a sense of being alive, like I am alive and have the ability to be on the planet today, and I still have time. And so I think that, I think spending a lot of time with people sick and dying and, not, having their lives cut short, or, their body's not working properly or whatever, I just try to reframe it and just say, like, this is a challenge, and, we'll get through it.
That's amazing that you have that mindset and that attitude towards that. That's really incredible. Most people don't, and I think that looking at the glass half full is very important, just for your outlook of thankfulness. And I mean, I opened the Bible today, and I'm just like, what is the message of the day? And it was just be thankful. Like, we have running water, electricity. We have so many basic things. We have excess of so much, and we go about, and we're just we stop learning to just be thankful and appreciative for what we have. And I'm not telling you, after all you've been through, be thankful and be appreciative of it. But there's been a lot that you've been through. I mean, losing someone you loved, all my grandparents have passed and stuff, it's not easy. Going back to your dad, and your dad passing, I got my cancer, I believe, from one of my grandparents. And I'm just wondering, there's none of that in your genes, is there?
I have what my dad had. So I will, in the future, face either the decision to be on dialysis or
how does this stuff
have
happen?
a transplant.
Wow.
My brother has the gene too, and my brother's already on dialysis, and he's only 36, 37, so...
Yeah. And
it's
sometimes
down the road.
we sometimes, I get, you ever heard the story of Jonah in the Bible?
Yeah.
Where he went for riches, and then he just all of a sudden was like, hey, I'm doing this, and then he gets swallowed by a whale, right? And then the whale pops him out, and then at least a little olive branch goes over his head for shade. But I mean, it gets so overwhelming at times. You get so beat up, and now you're sharing even more stones getting thrown your way. So you're saying you have something similar to what your dad had, stage 4 renal cancer, and passed away. Now you have something of that?
Yeah, so I have the kidney disease that he has. It's not a guarantee that when you have a transplant that you get cancer, but your risk of cancer increases by 100 to 300%, 2 to 4-fold after you have a transplant. So the likelihood that you will have cancer post-transplant is very high.
How do you feel right now? Day-to-day life, what does that look like to you, knowing that? To me, I'm just going to be honest with you. If I'm going to work and I have something very distracting in the back of my head, I cannot focus. I'm 80% there, but as I'm talking to someone, I'm really concerned about something. Are you able to have peace day to day, or do you find that's very distracting?
I think that it has fueled me even more. I mean, working in the emergency medicine realm for 10 years, you experience people. I mean, having the trauma center right there too. I think my first day of work, a couple came in, they had wrapped their car around a telephone pole, and it was a husband and wife or, couple that was together. And we worked on the man and he passed away. And then she went up to the OR, and to my knowledge, she survived. And just seeing that, I have all kinds of thoughts that go through my head. Like, were they arguing? Like, were they on good terms? Did they say what they needed to? I mean, when someone's taken just unexpectedly like that, and that
Could I have said this? Should I have said this?
Yeah.
Could I have done anything differently?
and just realizing that could happen to anyone, anytime.
I know. Every morning I wake up with my fiance. I say to her, let's say good morning. Let's say good night. Let's give a kiss goodbye. Because when you walk out that door, you really don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, anything could happen. And then you have to live with all those thoughts that you're describing,
Yeah. So there's like a balance between, I think for me daily, there's a balance between still being productive and fully living my life and living out dreams and goals and hopes that I have, but also just realizing that at any point, things may be cut short. I may live to be 80 years old. I don't know. Or I could, be gone tomorrow. And so I think that frames a lot of how I wake up and live my day with my kids and in my life. And yeah, I just think it.
So you have how many kids do you have?
I have a 2-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter.
Aw.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's very exciting. And I have 14 nieces and nephews, and I've got a son coming in 10 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
Stepdaughter, and it's just amazing. It's my life, It's amazing how much kids they give you so much inspiration in life just alone, right? Yeah. You learn to live an unselfish life. You learn that they are the priority and that you are just there to help them grow the best you can. And so maybe does that give you any room in there to mental health as far as just get distraction from that a little bit for their sake?
Yeah, and it I protect them from it a lot. And I think it's changed decisions I've made. I mean, the first time that I went into renal failure, I was actually getting ready to study for the entrance exam for medical school. That's what I went back to school for. And I had planned to go to medical school for probably 15 years. And then when I was hit with that, it just kind of reframed everything. And I was like, I don't know that I want to be away from my kids for 80 to 100 hours a week. And I don't know.
All your thoughts in your head just start spinning.
Yeah. And there was a specific doctor's appointment that I had where my doctor gave me kind of the best estimate of how long I had on my kidneys. And I just was kind of doing the math and was just like, why would I spend my time? Not that being a doctor isn't like a lofty goal and, that was misguided or something, but I was just like, I don't know that I want to spend the rest of my life, doing that. So yeah, that changed the course for my kids.
So knowing you have conquered harder in the past makes the current challenge similar to overcome. I feel like you have taken every step along your life and you really have embraced it in faith, like you said. In faith, can you break that down a little bit? What does faith mean to you?
Yeah. You say a lot, you are not alone. I mean, that could mean, you have physical people around you and your family and your friends and maybe people that are also going through that, but you're also never alone because God is with you all the time, every step of the way. So,
Amen.
In challenges that I've had, I've just had that feeling of, when I was transferred to New Jersey and I was going to work to be stationed in Alaska and do all the flight stuff, I remember, it's hard to describe when you say like God spoke to me. It's like not some booming voice or whatever, but just felt it in my heart. You're going to have to lean on me the whole time. Heard that very just thought separate from my own. And that's been the truth. It's
amazing what he does to make sure that we understand that. When we start veering away from that, it's amazing what he says. Hey, listen, if you can't do that by this, I'm going to remind you of this. And very quickly, he gets our attention, right?
Yeah.
Because then it's like, I mean, I put "you are not alone" because I realized that without Jesus, like in knowing purpose in life, you wake up day to day. We all can bleed out. You're cut on the arm, you're cut on the leg, like the guy mauled by the bear, right? He's not there, you're not there. Life and death is just, so close. And you've probably seen so many examples of that.
Yeah.
And so every day you wake up is a blessing to you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing very personal things because it's to break that barrier. I think so many times these stories, people walk around like it's all good.
Yeah.
Like I look good, I feel good. There's no issues in life. And then they just want to stay younger and make everything seem when really behind the scenes, the wars and battle we fight are just, they're heavy,
Yeah.
They're heavy.
I think that's why I loved emergency medicine so much, because you are responding to the person's worst day. You see people in vulnerable positions. You see them scared. I would welcome somebody to tell me instead of just saying, "Oh, how are you? Good, good. How are you?"
Tell them how they really are.
I had a random lady at the playground the other day. We just happened to talk there and kind of winding down with our time, and she just looked over at me and she was like, "Oh, my daughter's husband died, or my daughter's dad died yesterday." Just random lady. And I just sat there and listened. I would much rather have that kind of conversation, like listen to what I'm struggling with, listen to this crazy thing that happened to me, than for someone to pretend like everything's okay, which sometimes things are okay and going pretty well, but that's not if you live long enough.
So what's the one thing you go back that you keep focusing on as you see this?
I think every person, not just me, was created for a purpose. I think that there's some reason why. I mean, the likelihood of even a human being, like you say, that you have a child that's about to be born. I'm sure you've tracked ultrasounds and just like, it's fascinating.
Everything.
Just the chances of someone existing on the planet is
a miracle.
I think it's 1 in 4 billion or something like that chance that you would be who you are. And
1 in 4 billion. Yeah. I'm a gambler, so I'm not taking those odds. I'm just telling you, I'm a Vegas man, and I'm not taking those odds. 1 in 4 billion. I would be like, next craps table, please. Yes.
So the chances that you would even be alive and breathing, and then if you break it down from a medical standpoint, everything your body's doing just involuntary. You breathing, your heart beating, all the things that are working properly for you to just exist in this moment is insane if you look at it. And so I just feel like doesn't make me special. Everybody has some reason why. There's no person that's exactly like another, and there is some reason why you're there, and you're bumping up against other human beings all day long, and you can make an impact in one way or another, and that can be positive or negative. Or so I just think that every day that you wake up, there's some reason that you're there.
That's a great outlook. I mean, one of the biggest mentors in my life has been Dave Durecki. He was a former Major League Baseball player, lost his arm due to cancer, and he spent his entire youth looking to be in the majors, gets to the majors, and plays 10 years for the majors and loses his arm due to cancer. And the devastation that had on him and his family, the one thing that he looks towards that really brought him through is the same thing you're talking about, is that ultimate purpose in life was clear to him. And that was that the purpose is that you, as you bump into one individual and the next, you have such a positive impact on their life that you realize what you're doing is you're really helping and healing people. Mm-hmm. And you as a healthcare provider have realized that in return is like healing medicine, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it healed me. I mean, you talked about my dad passing away. I mean, I immediately went into emergency medicine, and I think being with people on their worst day, reframed, kind of prevents you from having a pity party, because you're just like, oh, I just watched a 13-year-old girl lose her mom today, and she didn't expect that to happen. And it's happening to people all day, every day. And
extreme situations.
Yeah. And then also just caring for other people in their time of need really healed me. And yeah, I did that for 10 years after my dad passed away. And I think it was very helpful to keep me going and moving and not feeling sorry for myself.
I'm really impressed that you have found through such. I was so close to my Uncle Mark. I had an uncle, and his name was Uncle Mark, and we were like buddies. We were like a barrel of monkeys. We had so much fun that life is meant to be enjoyed. We would go to Vegas. He'd be like, "You want to go to Tijuana or Vegas?" And I'd be like, "Vegas, let's go." And we would do all the things and have the best of times. And, it was just, he died. I mean, he died during COVID time. And I remember for years, I was upside down. Like, I would call him for stuff that I wouldn't even call anyone about. And I would pick up the phone and call him and forget he was even passed away. I mean, I literally would be like, ring, ring, ring.
That's what I was saying, that you have that period of time where
you don't even know what to do. It's crazy. And then I still, to this day, I can honestly say I have not healed from that. So it's really neat and amazing to me that you have specific things, like the guy that said to you, though he might just see them as words, they are words that you really grabbed onto. Like, there is no hill, Christine, that I have not seen you being able to climb through. Whatever that means, however that looks like, it just means that through your faith in Jesus, that you trust him, that he's going to get you through the next obstacle. And that means whether you're in the beginning, the middle, or the end, you're still walking along. And whether you want it or not, the sun comes up, the sun goes down, and you're embraced in life. And right now, you're in the middle, I would say, of a very challenging situation. Because there's not a magic wand to just make it dissipate, what you've been told, right?
Yeah.
You know what's happened to your father. What would be, if someone listening to this podcast could be most helpful to you, what would that be?
Oh, what's been most helpful to me?
Someone listening specifically to this podcast, what would be most helpful to you? Like, what is something that you feel you're just slightly don't have that you really, really need or want?
I mean, I'm grateful that I have had, over the last couple of years, actually a lot of Coast Guard people that I knew when I was in, and some family, they came around to actually support me in having stem cell treatments. So I went through a couple of stem cell treatments in the last year. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes
it lasts 6 months.
Yeah, sometimes how it helps isn't always visible, and like lab work or numbers changing. But they supported me through that, and then thankfully I was just approved to. I've been on a new medication for 4 weeks. That it's still in that phase where the manufacturer ships it to you, and they say, like, if anything crazy happens, like, call us and let us know.
I hate those bottle signs. I'm like, everything is perfect and everything is great, but in small sentence, you're like, with a magnifying glass, there is a 99% chance of death. You're like, ah! Like, what? 99% chance of death? Like, oh, you just said this was perfect.
Even my doctor, I had to check in with me. He goes, how are you feeling on it? I was like, oh, I'm feeling okay. He's like, well, that's good, because some lady I had it on before, she like went nuts. I was like, you mean like mentally went nuts? He's like, yeah. So like, I'm glad that you're doing well. I was like, okay.
That's hilarious. Well, sometimes we understand the old phrase, sometimes we need a village to raise a child. I mean, it's like, and as a child, I don't mean as a literal child, but as we go through parts of life, it just really uplifts us. The Church of 1122, have you ever heard of them?
I used to go to that church when I lived here.
Okay,
Back when they were at Beach United.
Joby Martin is a prophet. He's not a pastor. He's not anyone, but just he's a prophet. And what happens is there is a spirit from heaven that anoints him and gives him the direct words, like Moses held the 10 Commandments, and God at first wrote them. He eventually crashed them, but God wrote those. And with Joby, he directly delivers that. Now, I can go into a whole other story of how I know that, but I can tell you, he holds the pen and God writes the message. There's been 15 times that I walked into that church and I said, either show me or I'm going to walk. And every time Joby would hit it, bullseye. The exact thing that I needed. And so I realized that there is, when you say faith, no matter what you go through life, you're not alone because Jesus is with us. And as he says at 11:22, if the tomb is empty, then anything is possible. So I just want to just say a blessing over you. May God bless you, may encourage you, and may most of all, he give you faith to know that the outcome of what your dad went through is not necessarily the outcome that you have to go through. And though it might be very distracting knowing that, your faith seems to be very, very strong. And I've seen miracles happen. And I was told I was going to die, and I'm around. When they said T-cell leukemia was supposed to be that long of a defect, and it took so many sentences. The defect was, they were like, what do we label this? Yeah. And they were like, in 1998, they were like, let's label it T-cell leukemia. And somehow, it didn't look like it was going to turn around. It turned around. Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, you keep being you. Keep having that faith that you have, and surround yourself with the folks that bring you the strength that you need. And if there's anything, you being here just to share that so that people realize, just like Christine Cole's sitting here, like she's sharing, she was in the Coast Guard, she went down to Hawaii. She's living life just like we all are. And she's not pretending that everything is just perfect. She's coming down and being a real person, and I really appreciate that, Christine. I hate phony people.
Same.
I sometimes just want to tell someone, like, just quit the bullshit. I want to have a real conversation with you, or let's not have a conversation. Yeah. Because, and that's what Joby, going back to him at 11:22, like, he gets up there.
That's why I love it with him.
And he's just like, here it is. You don't like it? And you don't want it, whatever it might be, whether it's guns or this or that, like, this is the word of God, and I'm going to give you the word of God. If it's offensive to you and you want to walk, walk, like Antonio Brown on Tampa Bay Buccaneers, strip all his gear off, I'm out of here, because you didn't get one more catch to make $500 more bucks or whatever it might be. Like, we want to keep our eyes on the cross, and if we do that, I think that God will place us in the best place that we're supposed to be, because we all have purpose, right?
Yeah. I think struck a chord when you were talking about going into the church and saying, show it to me, or
I'm Thomas.
I'm gonna.
I gotta have the hands out. You remember Thomas? Uh-huh. He was like, he says, I do not believe Christ was from the cross until I see the holes, and they were like, you're just gonna have to believe us. And eventually he came down, but he said, blessed are those who have not put their hands and believe. Yeah. And I feel like that's where we all are, right? Yeah. We're in a stage where we have to take what we see written and we have to believe it. Yeah. It's hard. Isn't it difficult?
Yeah.
Or for you, is it easy?
No, well, for me, I grew up in an Episcopalian church, and just the nature of where I grew up, just a lot of fake people, I'm fine. And I didn't see a lot of real just anything. And so when I was 17, I think for some people praying is abstract. It's like, how do you do that? But my conversations when I was 17 just started like, if you're real, show yourself to me, make yourself known to me. And, I don't want you to be this distant, man with a white beard, that type of figment
exactly
of something. Like, I want to know you. And so if you're real, show yourself to me.
Yes.
So, kind of challenging, kind of like you were, and I don't think that's a bad thing, because he does prove himself.
Yes. It takes time, takes patience. Sometimes it doesn't come the day that we want it, but
it wasn't the day I prayed. It was
sometimes it's days later it comes, but it really impacts us in a powerful way. And, through that, we walk away realizing once again, what little faith we have, and how blessed we are to have someone that at the end of the day really wants our best interest in mind. And it's hard when you list off your father passed away, or me saying my favorite uncle in the world passed away, or you're this or you're that. It's really hard, but look at Job in the Bible. Mm-hmm. It all comes down to sometimes obeying. I don't mean to go off topic here, but I always thought one of the silliest stories in the Bible was grown men marching around playing instruments around a castle. You know this story?
No, I don't think I.
So it's called Jericho.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah,
they had got to march around a wall.
Okay.
March around a wall, bathe in a sea. Gideon trimmed down the army, so there's only there's this many soldiers. We're gonna whittle it down to this. Daniel in the lion's den, Meshach, Radshak, Abednego. They didn't even smell like smoke when they came out. All it is about is obeying.
Yeah.
He wants us to just trust him, to obey in him. And if we obey what he says, he will guide our footsteps.
Yeah.
We can't do that, but we're trying. We're trying. We're human, right? We're
Yeah.
trying. And so I think that's what you're saying is it's through all of this trauma that you've tried to replace it with to give back so that it can reflect like a mirror positivity back on your life.
Yeah, and I don't mean to make it sound easy. I mean, I didn't really get to that, but God told me to join the Coast Guard in one way or another, and I didn't know anything about what the Coast Guard did, and I still am a surfer, didn't brush my hair, like was walking around with no shoes on.
How dare you?
Like, just like that was me, and not following rules, and just kind of, I mean, I wasn't like a hellion or anything, but I just like didn't like authority really or dumb rules and things like that. And then when I had to join the Coast Guard, no, not like that. But and so when I had to join the Coast Guard, I mean, that was not easy. I mean, I cried about it and was just like, well, this doesn't make any sense. Like, and that was hard for me. But through obeying, like you were saying, just that's what I'm going to do. It's completely changed my life, and hopefully changed, the people whose lives I was a part of, like for the better while I was there. But it's not always easy.
It took 2 years for me to start Angels and Demons podcast. I didn't really I knew God said do it, but I didn't understand clearly why. But he kept saying, if I save your life, and Dave Gervecki, who gave everything that he had back to help other people through the Outreach of Hope, and then he created endurance.org, which is for anyone going through cancer or any issue in life. They write hand letters, they give baskets, little gift baskets every week so you can open and feel good. I said, I want to carry the baton on to the next generation so that I can offer something for other people. And, in a way, Joby's done that for the community of Jacksonville in the way of 1122. And I, in the small way of this podcast, have done this. And then you did your part. You obeyed and did your part. And it all kind of evolved. And if we didn't all do what we needed to do, we wouldn't be doing this today.
Yeah.
So it's pretty powerful just that things coordinated and worked out just today so that you are here. Because just to be honest, everyone, Christine Cole was not supposed to be on this podcast today. You were actually, when I spoke to you, she was in Hawaii. And we're in Jacksonville. And I'm like, okay, hey, Christine, how's Hawaii? She's like, great, It was supposed to be someone different, a different story. But God wanted it to be this way. And I couldn't be more blessed. Thank you. Thank you for your time, your efforts, and coming on, and your inspirational stories of coming on to share, to give other people hope. And if there's one last thing you could tell the listeners, what would you, for Angels and Demons podcast listeners, what would you tell them that would be most influential to help them in their darkest time of life from where you are now in life? What would you tell them?
I feel like what just popped into my head was, I don't know where this comes from. Maybe it's a Bible story, but like, that cracked vase or something that's like cracked and broken. Like you feel like you're at your lowest point. And through those cracks, like little bits of light can stream through. And if it's possible at all to try to daily like reframe, like look for those little, even if it's the smallest little shred of light that comes through, whether that's somebody who's come alongside you as a friend to support you, or like that mentor of mine saying that kind word to me that I've carried well beyond that conversation. Look for that and hold on to that as much as you can, because you will come out on the other side and there'll be light all around you. But when you're in that place, I think if you focus on all of the darkness around you and all the things you can't see and you don't understand, then you'll just spiral. Negative feeds negative feeds negative. You'll just become more and more
like
negative.
A hamster in a wheel.
Yeah. So like whatever little bit of light it is for the day, even if it's the smallest thing, like just look for that.
Christine Cole, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Angels and Demons podcast. See you in the next story, everyone. Till next time.